When my heart is frail, and when I'm incomplete, I will choose to receive. You love me, you love me, you love me.
Welcome to the final week of Second Chances. So yes, we finished Ruth chapter 4 last week, and so you may be asking, where are we going this week? Well, I kind of wrote Ruth chapter 5. Just kidding. We actually just wanted to capture the whole idea of second chances. And so we started this week and just took a small conversation out of Romans chapter 11. And in Romans chapter 11, what we discover is that we are important to the Father. Those of us who have put our faith in Jesus, we are important to the Father. And there's some things we need to know about our Father. One, that he will never abandon us. You may have been abandoned by a boyfriend, a girlfriend. You may have been abandoned by a job. You may have been abandoned by a friend, by a parent, by your children, by any number of people or situations. You may have been or felt abandoned, but God never abandons you. Number two, we want to talk about how even though you may not have been abandoned, most of us at least once or twice have felt alone. We have been in the valley of the shadow of death, and we have felt that we are completely alone. But in Christ, we are never alone. The third thing I wanted to highlight and to tie this series together is that God has a plan for you. So not only will he not abandon you, not only will you never be alone, but he has a plan for you. Now you can choose to wander off, you can choose to ignore his plan, you can choose to live outside of his favor, but he has a plan for you. And ultimately, the whole point of this series was the fourth thing we talked about Sunday, is that he is a God of second chances. Definitely a God of second chances. See, sometimes the enemy likes to speak to us with the voice of less and tell us that we are not lovable, that we've made too many mistakes, that there's too many errors. But he loves to speak the voice of less, because in the voice of less, it tells us that, and it causes us to lose our confidence. It causes us to lose our boldness. It causes us to lose our faith that is a faith that can move mountains. It causes us to really live lives that are overwhelmed, a life of discouragement, a life of never accomplishing everything that God has for us. So I want you to know, as we finish this series, that God is a God of second chances. Now maybe you've messed things up. Maybe you've made some huge mistakes, and you're going to reap the consequences of those mistakes for months or years to come. Even so, if we come back to the Father and we ask for forgiveness, and we once again return to live under his presence, and we return to live under his roof, he will do exceedingly abundantly above more than we could ever ask or think. I love the story of the prodigal son. The prodigal son is a son, but he chooses to dishonor and he chooses to leave. Even though he misspends all of his inheritance and he's eating lunch in a pig pen, he's still the Father's son. And while he may have removed himself from the Father's presence, he's never really alone, for the Father continues to hold him in his heart. The son finally recognizes that he doesn't have to feel alone, that he can be in the Father's presence and potentially receive forgiveness. And so he returns and the Father forgives him. Does he reap the consequences of his bad decisions? Of course he does. He wasted his inheritance. He's lost out on tons of rewards. But there is a place at the table with the Father for him forever. And I would imagine if we heard the rest of the story, the Father used him. And he was able to do more than he ever dreamed he could do while sitting, eating lunch in a pig pen. So I would encourage you, no matter what's happened in your life, if you will come to the Father, he will fill you with the understanding that he will never abandon you, that you're not alone, that he has a plan for your life in spite of your failures, and that he is a God of second chances. And the sooner we listen to that voice of more, which is the voice of the Father, then we can go out as ambassadors of the Father and share the voice of more with others. I hope you've been encouraged by this series, Second Chances. And I hope that you guys get a chance to talk in your grow group about how he has given you second chances and how he is using you in his kingdom work. Hope you guys have a great group. We'll talk to you soon.
You're taking me by the hand again. You're giving me strength to dance again. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything.